Time to play the game. Time to play the game. It's all about the game and how you play it. All about control, and if you can take it, all about your debt. And if you can pay it, it's all about pay. And who's gonna make it? I am the game, you don't wanna play me. I am control, no way you can shake me. I am heavy debt, no way you can pay me. I am the pain, and I know you can't take me. Look over your shoulder, ready to run like a...
Sometimes life can feel overwhelming, losing a big game, pressure to succeed, belong, fitting in, or away from home to play hockey. It can build up for some, and it can seem like things aren't going the right way. We're here today with Fighting the Truth President Paul Renaud. How are you today, Paul?
I'm great, thanks. How are you, Jay?
Good, good. How's the weather in Southern Ontario?
Well, down here it's got no snow. It's a little cool, but we've had plus temperatures, so things have been great.
So still hockey weather, though, right?
Absolutely.
So the big thing is, what is Fighting the Truth?
Fighting the Truth is an organization that deals with mental health from all aspects in sports, but also with the general public. So
with like say mental health, I guess hiding in the shadows when it comes to the sports world still to this day, and especially hockey. What can you guys do to help the athletes out there, or the coaches or parents?
Just to help them understand what they're going through. They're not alone, and to get them to open up about what it is they're battling, whether it's depression, whether there's been abuse in their family. Like I know Patrick O'Sullivan just came out, and nobody ever knew what that gentleman went through up to the age of 16 until he got away from his father, but we all know now. So it's being able to let those guys be able to talk about what they're going through and help them to understand that, so that they can become the athletes that they want to be.
Now, with Fighting the Truth, how your background and how did you get involved with Fighting the Truth?
Well, my background is I played hockey and at the junior level. I also referee hockey at the junior level. I got involved because of my own story that I came out with 6 years ago about sexual and physical abuse and a few other traumas that I went through before the age of 18. A few divorces as a kid, a swing set to the head, which is a head trauma, concussions from hockey. I also had viral meningitis at the age of 14, which, for those that don't know what that is, it can kill you if it's not taken care of. I had a big needle shoved in the small of my back because there's a sac in the small of your back, which they take the fluid from, and that's how they determine whether you even have that or not. So, with no freezing either, you are in the fetal position to get that done.
Wow, it's not that you want it done, but it helped, right?
Well, I had no choice to have it done. It was the only way they're going to find out why for 3 days I was just out in La La Land, not knowing even where I was. But as long as I was laying down and had my eyes closed, I was fine. The minute I stood up, it was just wicked headaches. I just was not myself at all. And that's the only way they found out.
So the one thing is, like, if I mention a few names like Steve Matador, Rick Rippon, Terry Trafford, Derek Bogard, Wade Belak, Darren Richardson, what do those names mean to you?
They're all athletes at a high level, and unfortunately, they've all taken their lives. They've all committed suicide, but they certainly talk about in my own attempts on my own life. And it's very unfortunate that those guys, have done that. Understanding that what suicide's all about, it's not about being selfish. It's about just wanting to end the pain.
Now, and I know you're not a doctor or, like you say, in that field, but with you being through what you've been through and what you're doing now, what signs can parents or land parents or coaching staff look for when it comes to players with mental health?
Change in behavior, change in their attitude, changing their demeanor and how they're approaching stuff. They're usually the ones that are the jokesters in the room, the loudest. The reason is they're wearing a mask. They're trying to hide behind what the real issues are in their life. Those are some of the signs just to pick up and watch for.
And this question, or like I say, this comment isn't bashing the OHL at all. But with Terry Trafford's death, like I say, catching big attention through the OHL and them starting the Talk Today program, it took Terry's death to get the OHL on board on what's happening with, at least in the CHL. You think that was a little late?
Absolutely. This has been a big issue. I can go back to Brian Fogarty, who's no longer with us.
He was in Niagara Falls, right?
And he played in Kingston. A buddy of mine used to play with Fogarty. That's just how I know what Fogarty was up to behind the scenes. And Kingston ended up trading him because they couldn't deal with the partying behind the scenes. So they just shipped him off to the next team. And that's all they do. This league still does this today. They will just move guys from one team to another because they can't deal with the issues. They don't want to deal with the issues. And they want to keep everything hidden. They want the on-ice product to look perfect, but they won't deal with the problems behind the scenes. And that's what needs to be taken care of, because these athletes cannot be the best on the ice unless you're exceptional, like a Patrick O'Sullivan, like a Fogarty. Those guys were able to hide all those issues and perform on the ice, but had real problems behind the ice. Theo Fleury's the same thing. It's remarkable to be able to block that out, perform on the ice, and yet go party till 4 a.m. They're the rare guys, but they need help too. It's the average athlete who's battling something that can't become better because they have an issue off the ice, and it needs to be dealt with. And the league, that league, the OHL, the American League, the NHL is just starting to do more now. Again, because they're finding out more and more of their concussioned athletes are taking their lives, are suffering so bad that it's come to that. The medication is what is driving these guys, because of the concussions, to end up, committing suicide.
Oh, and the stress today, and I use living in Northern Ontario, not the stress of living in Northern Ontario, but because where we live here, I'm based in Sault Ste. Maria's, you have kids who are 13, 14 leaving home to play hockey at 13, 14 and never returning home except for holidays. So the stress on that alone, just starting then, with everything else contributing to what's happening, it's something with Fogarty. I know when he went to Niagara Falls, a good friend of mine was traded away from Niagara Falls because of Fogarty, and it's not blaming Brian, but that was going back to 1988. So yep. The pressure put on these junior hockey players, and no matter if it's junior A or junior A, the stress starts at a very young age, and then with everything else contributing to it, it's why they're ending up where they are, right?
Absolutely, I totally agree. It's a huge epidemic that we have got to get a grasp on. We got to get these kids to talk. They have to have an avenue to talk to. Great for the OHL to bring in Canadian Mental Health Association. I just spoke in Kitchener-Waterloo Wednesday, December 9th at their gala. It was the guest speaker. They're doing a lot of great things, but these players cannot relate to somebody else who has not walked in their shoes. This is why they need to hire some people who have walked in the shoes of those players, so the players will open up. The players will not open up to somebody that has not walked in the shoes they're walking today.
Exactly, and I use that example all the time when it comes to, and then I give anybody credit, like I say, people who are working with addicts, recovering alcoholics, who, like say, have learned out of a textbook, but it's a lot more when a player, instead of a team sending a player to a doctor who has never experienced, it's not sending, but contacting you, or you can explain to them what you've been through and they understand a little bit more, right?
Absolutely. I've done a documentary that was out there on Facebook and stuff. I've just redone the documentary. It's in the final stages. and it will continue. Obviously, the more places I go to, the more places I speak to. I have a photographer who willingly comes and follows around and does all this stuff for my documentary free of charge. Again, it's building his own career as a journalist, a journalist guy. And he's been in touch with Maclean's magazine. And they're very interested in the documentary and the story.
So when it comes to, I'm using hockey players because, like I say, what we're talking about here, but should hockey players or athletes challenge the stigma of having to be tough and strong with their personalities and sometimes show their feelings to their teammates instead of keeping it bottled up?
Well, I think they should be able to talk to whoever, whether it's a teammate, whether it's the coach, whether it's a parent of one of the players, somebody that you are comfortable with, that you can trust with being able to sit down and tell what's going on with you. It doesn't matter who you tell it to, just be able to talk to them and trust them that you can say what's going on and you're not going to be ashamed or ridiculed for it. Nobody should be ever embarrassed or ashamed of their story, or be afraid to tell their story. The biggest thing is that fear stands in the way of anyone getting on with their story or telling their story. Trust me, when I came out with my own story 6 years ago, it was, how am I going to present this to my friend? But because of seeing a psychologist and a therapist and a family counselor, it was very easy for me to tell them and not worry about the fear. And the result was they were more like, wow, really didn't know, sorry about that, is there anything we can do? They're very sympathetic and empathy about it, rather than, oh my God, you got a problem, you got to stay away from us. And that's what we think as people that have, a mental health issue. We always think that, oh, people are just going to hate me or turn their back on me. It's not the case. More times than not, people are, oh, I'm really sorry, and, good for you to stand up, and, you know what, I'm really glad that you're doing something about it. I'm glad you're not just, accepting it and hiding and destroying the rest of your life. I know myself, Jay, 2010, I went and visited my perpetrator and had a lengthy conversation with him, and I just got news that 5 years later he's now drug-free and alcohol-free. So
it's something. Now, a question I have, and maybe you don't want to say, did you forgive him?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's the only way you can move forward.
Understandable.
You have to forgive.
Understandable. Now, and I'm using hockey and athletes, do you think sometimes these players or athletes are nervous about coming and talking to, let's say, somebody, their parents or a teammate or a team official, because it might affect their playing status on the team?
Yes, absolutely, and that's what we got to break. We have to break that stigma that, and it's starting. I relate mental health to cancer. 40 years ago, what did we know about cancer? There was no funding. We didn't know much about it, and everyone was scared to the crap to even talk about it. But look where it is today. Talk about it every day. It affects everyone's family, and there's all kinds of funding. This is where mental health's going, is in that same direction. Let's see 20 years from now. There should be a heck of a lot more funding. It should be a lot less stigma, and I'm sorry, but mental health affects everybody's family in some degree, one way or another.
Well, and that's exactly it. And I tell people, like, see, my story is not exactly the same as yours. Is up until a few years ago, my personality was different. My family really noticed it, caused a lot of problems. And they realized I guess you say I affected or suffer with anxiety, and I take medication every day for it. So, like you say, it affects every family.
Yep, and good for you to realize, hey, I got a problem and I have to take care of it.
And if I don't take medication, like it runs out for a few days, my family not yells and screams at me, but they let me know right away that, hey, it affects the whole family, not just yourself, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And unfortunately, with mental health issues, if it's not taken care of, you will ruin families and relationships and marriages. I destroyed a whole pile of relationships and a marriage. So I certainly know all about that and not dealing with my story for over 30 years. But since then, I mean, obviously, things in life change and get better. And you know, I live just 24 hours a day. That's all I live. I can't live, you know, what's going to happen 5 years down the road or a year down the road. I just can live today and be the best I can be today to people around me. And, you know, whatever is dealt that day, deal with it and wake up tomorrow and start a new day.
And another, I guess, personal question is, like, say, the old friends or really the ex-wife, do they understand where you're at now, like you say, compared to where you were?
All my friends are very supportive. I don't talk to my ex-wife.
Yeah.
I'm sure that I know that her friends, I'm sure, have told her or shared what's going on. But I haven't seen her or talked to her, you know, since I told her my story. Now, she is the one individual that didn't believe my story when I told her, but I do believe that's probably because she was very hurt and very upset about the divorce. So I'm sure today, if I talked to her, if I saw her, I'm sure that she would, you know, totally understand what's going on.
Understand. Now, what's the best way the people, like say, out there can find out about Fighting the Truth when it comes to websites or phone numbers or contacting yourself?
We have a Facebook page. We also have a website, fightingthetruth.com, and they can phone me at 289-688-0490 at any time. That phone is on 24/7.
Now, with Fighting the Truth at this point, is it a full-time occupation for you?
It is not. I just signed all the paperwork with the lawyers in regards to make it an incorporated, nonprofit charitable status. I've got to pay just over $1,000 to finalize all that with a paralegal, and then the paperwork is sent to the government, and it'll be all red stamped so that if people want to donate to Fighting the Truth, it goes into a bank account. We've set up a budget and everything with the lawyers so that, you know, if where I go speak or whatever, it's all budgeted out from the funds in regards so that I could get paid.
Now, do you do any events right now for, like, say, at least to help do what you're doing?
We are just approaching Wooden Sticks again. We did a golf tournament at Wooden Sticks in 2014. We are going back to Wooden Sticks for 2016. July 12th is the date I've been given by Steve Wilson at Wooden Sticks. I just have to finalize the food and the cost. And then it'll be put out again to all the sponsors that sponsored it in 2014 and all the players that played and hopefully get them back out there again. I know most of the players wanted to play at Wooden Sticks. And so we're just deciding now whether we'll do it every year at Wooden Sticks or every second year at Wooden Sticks. But from now on, all Fighting the Truth golf tournaments will be held at Wooden Sticks in Uxbridge. Now,
will you be looking for more players to compete?
In 2014, we almost sold it out. We had like 136 guys, so I mean, and women. So again, the max we can have is 144. So we did very well.
For the first time, right?
Yeah, for the first time.
So,
and I'm hoping to have the same success again in 2016.
Understandable. Well, I can't thank you enough, Paul, for being on the show. We're doing our second part of this show this evening with Brad Barton of the Blind River Beavers. He's the head coach who suffers from depression, and we're going to talk to Brad about how he deals with that, with coaching a junior A team in the CJHL, and go from there to add to what we've done with you today, Paul.
Just another thing, Jay, just so everyone knows, is that I have 5 men's leagues now that are wearing our Fighting the Truth helmet sticker. And all these men's leagues are going to donate money to mental health. So kudos to the Brooklyn Men's League. They have two nights that they play, the Port Hope Men's League, the Scugog Men's League, and the Whitby Men's League, and also the Newcastle Men's League. Those 5 leagues have all ponied up to wear the helmet stickers. I approached them all, and they're willing to donate money to mental health. So I thank them very much for all their support. And do me a favor and reach out to Brad and tell him I said hi. I
will for sure. And how would a league or how would teams go about getting the helmet stickers?
All they got to do is give me a shout at 289-688-0490. It doesn't cost them a thing. I come and I see them. I tell them, you know, some of my story and why Fighting the Truth's doing what they're doing.
Well, thank you very much, Paul, and we'll talk to you soon. Have a good Christmas.
All right, you too. Merry Christmas, Jay, to you and your family.
Thank you.
All right, thanks for your time. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
You still there?